Hello and welcome to the All About X-Men Comics podcast, where you'll find recaps and reviews of all the most recent X-Men comics, as well as previews for upcoming issues. Please keep in mind this will mean spoilers and the infamous F-bomb. I'm host Scorpio Moon, X-Men fan first, everything else fan second, and hosting with me is...
Johnny Alpha, and I couldn't say it better myself, man. It's all about the X.
Marvel Knights #2 is our lead-off book. Here's the rundown. The second kid on the Cerebro list for this town has the power to make memories come to life. Hence why Wolverine fought Sabretooth, and the whole beginning of the issue has the X-Men fighting these manifestations until the girl finally calms down. Wolverine nearly kills her when one of her visions shows the murdered mutant that sent them on this hunt, his thinking supposedly being that it's her memory of doing it, but he backs off and instead they treat her out to dinner. They're just trying to give her a warm meal and buy some time to assess the situation, but she's still a bit freaked out, and rightfully so. So she accepts the other girl's offer of some of that crazy drug the rednecks have been slanging, and her power goes wacko, making people's memories come to life all over the place, including a team of giant sentinels, leaving us to our cliffhanger.
Explain, why Wolverine's so twisted. The blonde girl, I forget her name, she's got the power to tell people how to think and feel, and she implied to Wolverine that it was the memory girl that brought them there, and it's the reason. So, of course, he was going to fly off the handle because it was put into his head, it was a very different issue. A lot of invocations of past feelings and enemies showing up. It was a strange issue, but I really think that this particular series is heading somewhere good. I'm holding out hope, even though this kind of wasn't exactly where I was hoping this issue would go.
So let's go over a little more of the good and bad here. It's a very depressing story, especially this new girl's. Like most mutants, she couldn't control her power as a kid, and in her case, she kept constantly reminding her mother of her sordid past as a stripper. There's nothing wrong with being a stripper in and of itself, so whatever else was going on, it must have been pretty bad, because her mom eventually kills herself, driving her dad into a drunken mess that ends with him finally just leaving. I almost hope that somehow these sentinels at the end are real. They can do real damage, so they're quasi-real, but it basically gives us the exact same cliffhanger all over again.
Yeah, really, if they just pulled the same shenanigan again, that's kind of a lame way to end this. But I think the drug's gonna magnify her power to the point where the Sentinels are going to be almost able to kill them, you know what I mean?
Maybe it makes her manifestations more real somehow, or, wax out her power in some other way,
Well, they alluded to the fact that they're using dead mutants to make this drug. So the other mutants' power along with hers, I don't know, anything's possible in the world of X-Men.
And it being a Marvel Knights, there's room for them to take it some other crazy way with that too. I'm open-minded, but I have some other nitpicks here. When Wolverine is about to take that girl's head off, his claws are just drawn comically long. Way longer than his forearms would anatomically let them be. And that's always just kind of a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, it's how do you bend your wrist with them things, bro?
Yeah, it's physically impossible. One of those things that just always kind of bugs me when I see it. Lots of people do it. It's part of the character just to have fun with the claws, but I don't know, it just gets me. That's why I call it a pet peeve, I guess.
Yeah, you'd have to have, long-ass basketball player hands to make them things work.
And the dialogue in the beginning, especially out of Wolverine, I think is just alarmingly bad. Is it just does Wolverine sound retardedly simple, yet then overly verbose at the same time?
It was like they were writing Wolverine to be like one of the biker guys that came and got the drugs in the middle of the book. I know Wolverine's kind of simple, but he's not a redneck and he's not Tartar, he's Canadian. I guess maybe he's as close to Canada has to a redneck, but they're still a lot more clean cut and softer spoken than our garden variety in America.
It just doesn't sound like a conversation you hear between Sabretooth and Wolverine. Or maybe in some ways it does, but they tried to take the entirety of Wolverine versus Sabretooth and compact it into 4 sentences, which just made it really awkward. It's just Sabretooth, I should have known it was you. This dumb ultimate typecast kind of line.
I should have smoked this a mile away, yeah. It would have been better if he said that, actually. But
yeah, that would have been better. But then he goes on this rant about disregard for human life in the middle of trying to slice Sabretooth in half.
I love that they keep writing him so, like, monumentally obtuse after, like, said guy drowned his own son in a mud puddle. You know what I mean? Like, this whole thing that they're driving home to Wolverine where everybody else is a killer except for him, it's really kind of getting on my nerves in a lot of these books. You know what I mean? It's like, since when has Wolverine just been so monumentally naive about what he is the best at doing?
Yeah, that's something I thought he kind of came to terms with a long time ago. And I mean, maybe there's always still the fight between Wolverine, like maybe it's just, like that's an essential part of the character that they always have to carry on. But yeah, they're treating it like it's this brand new thing.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, I killed people? What? It's like, yeah, dude, it's been a couple decades now, you know, since we've been reading about it.
Maybe the whole thing's not supposed to make any sense, because that's how you show that you're having conversation with something that's not real. But it was just painful to read, man.
Yeah, especially from something that we were expecting to be like one of the best things this week, which it actually kind of still was, sadly.
Yeah, sadly, this still was one of the better books. Honestly, there's only really one book this week that, like, I couldn't live without, and we'll get to that in the end. But, I mean, story-wise here, I mean, what they've done with these characters, I mean, they've put them in a pretty tough jam, which I appreciate. You know, you're trying to help kids who don't want help, and Rogue points out some of the legal, ethical type stuff. Like, can you just more or less kidnap them and throw them into the school? But, I mean, what else do you do? I mean, the X-Men might have a bit of a hurting reputation, but they have to be the mutant authority, right? Like, they have to be the mutant child protective services, because who else will?
Well, and it seems to be working for the Xavier School. That's what Scott's been doing. So, I mean, like, if Wolverine's going to want to try to keep up and get some of the newbies, he's going to have to follow suit. And it's not like this girl had parents. She made it clear that Mama took the fucking rope dance and Daddy's been gone for a while. So, who are they going to check with? You know, who are they going to, like, actually sit there and talk to see if it's okay to take this alcoholic, drug-using, fucking goth cut herself, mental illusionist, delusional girl to some place where she'll be safe and not a harm to herself or other people?
Well, I mean, a lot of times in the past there was more of a choice. Professor X would show up, you know, with his nice suit and tie and roll in there and, you know, I'd like to explain a bit about my school to you, or something like that. But there's not room for that anymore. It's a different day and age.
Wolverine had a jean jacket and some jeans on. That's a Canadian tuxedo. He was dressed up classy, bro. So, I mean, it's a different kind of suit, bro.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'll give you that. And I mean, personally, I don't have any moral quandary with it either. But it is still somewhat of a dicey situation if you try and look at how would this really play out. So I kind of like how they just hang a lantern on that. And they don't just, like, you know, leave it to be just, like, expected to be so or whatever. Don't take it for granted.
Like, if you keep up with the Xavier School, when they took in Benjamin Dietz, when they took Gold Balls, when they took Tempest, I mean, none of these people's parents were forewarned. I don't even think any of them have contacted them. They've all just been like, yeah, man, we're mutants, and like, yeah, it's best if we just leave right now, you know? Like I said, if Wolverine doesn't want Scott to slide in and snag this one too, he's gonna have to probably do something like this. Otherwise, all the kind of cool new mutants are gonna end up at the Xavier School.
I wonder if they would take it in that direction someday. They did kind of highlight in the first issue, there was almost kind of a mutant arms race, or like a competition between Wolverine and Cyclops. Do you think they'd ever do a storyline where one of the other two, or where one of the two starts to push it too far?
I think we're actually coming close to that in the near future, so yeah, I think that's a very big possibility.
Alright, so maybe they're laying the groundwork here. But anyway, let's go thumbs up or thumbs down and buy it or skip it.
I'm going to go thumbs up. I really like in the way that this is going, even though with a couple nitpicks and a couple jives aside, you know. It's a fine little comic, and I like the art style and everything, but this issue kind of took a little step backwards and a little bit step forward, so I'm just going to go ahead and say wait for the trade paperback on this. You don't really need this issue of this book right now.
Thumbs up for their portrayal of the tough kind of spots the X-Men find themselves in, the trauma of growing up a mutant, and for a nice, slowly unraveling mystery. I'm going to go skip it, though. It's an awkward issue, kind of a clumsy read, but hopefully it'll look better in context later of the full story. So now, on to Amazing X-Men number 2. Wolverine and Northstar are in heaven, Storm, Iceman, and Firestar are in hell. Both realms are under attack by agents of Azazel, who wants to get into the soul-claiming business. As the issue ends, Wolverine allows himself to fall off the pirate ship into the heavenly abyss, and Storm is kidnapped by the pirates in hell, while Nightcrawler is about to bamf it and save her. Let's do the positives first, because I actually do have a few.
Really? Go ahead. I will do my wig out later.
Alright, so Northstar's ping-ball fighting style thing looks pretty cool. I got a kick out of that. I thought they portrayed that pretty well on page. Wolverine slices a sword and it breaks into 4 pieces. because, his 3 claws, like, that's the way it would slice. I think a lot of artists fail to pay attention to the kind of damage Wolverine should actually inflict with his claws, and to me this was a nice touch. When Wolverine's fighting the pirate, it says something about being transformed by Azazel, and Wolverine retorts with, "I'll transform you if you just hold still." It reminds me of how much they focus on his dialogue and those kind of quips back on the old cartoon show, how he'd throw people's words right back in their faces.
He was near death. Not near enough. There are still some recesses of his mind that I have failed to penetrate. I'll penetrate his recesses.
Come quietly or be taken.
And I hope you want to be taken. If somebody is holding Xavier, I'm gonna enjoy making him let go.
Come on, Wolverine. It's Christmas Eve. Have a little fun.
You don't want to know what I'd find fun right now.
And I also liked Iceman freezing over Hell. While it falls into pun territory, it is a really practical solution to the problem of Hell making him melt.
That was pretty cool. There was actually something cool when Iceman froze Hell, you're right.
Yeah, see, there we go. And I love when a character digs deep and finds a great well of power in themselves. That last breath kind of stuff. He ice hulks out and just goes crazy with his power. It gives you one of those hell yeah kind of moments. Now on to the negatives. So, Stupid Storm being stupid. She realizes the Hell Demons are at war with Azazel's crew, and the bad guys are basically all preoccupied with fighting each other, and that in Hell she also doesn't have any powers. So her brilliant plan is to fight them all anyway.
Yeah.
Just punch anything bad looking. Like what the fuck? The bad guys are taking on each other, your powers don't work, Iceman's melting, and Firestar is kind of freaking out. If you ask me, Storm deserved to get captured. The pirates' stupid names, Captain Jack and Billy the Kid. Really?
Well, yeah, dude, Jack the Ripper and Billy the Kid, and like a 4-armed Billy the Kid, yeah.
And is this group really calling themselves the Regulators?
Regulators! Mount up!
Mount up.
All of the Hell puns, everything, just all of them, all on the negative side. Professor X, I expected to see him one day in a more epic fashion. And here he is, helping Wolverine to realize that he's in heaven.
With playing Cluedo. He's like, I don't want to tell you where I am, where you are. It's like, well, I'm like being stupid and fighting something. Can't you just tell me where I am? Yeah, but it'll spoil the fun or whatever the fuck. He was like, why don't you just tell him, like, Wolverine, you're fighting in heaven and you gotta win, It's like, but no, like, yeah, fucking play word games with him, Chuck. Way to fucking go, bro.
I guess they want to do this whole thing where Wolverine might realize this could be his only real chance to end up in a place like this. But Xavier basically talked him into letting go, which is supposedly exactly what he doesn't want him to do. Unless it's like a reverse psychology kind of thing, what the fuck was going on there?
I was looking at Ed McGuinness's art saying, like, wow, this is actually really nice art and, like, the stupidest book I've ever read. So, I have no answers for you, man, honestly, with that. I was just sitting there like, why is Professor X playing word games with him? Why doesn't he explain it to him? You know what I mean? If he's taking the time to, like, bug Wolverine while he's fighting with his mental projection talking, why didn't he just explain the situation properly and be like, okay, Wolverine, you gotta win this fight and hang on to the plank until I tell you it's okay to fall because you're in heaven and if you fall through the clouds, you won't, like, collect the pennies from Super Mario World or some shit, and like, are pirate fucking cutlasses even supposed to damage a damn angel? Where are they going with this? Where is it coming from? And who the fuck thought it was a good idea to write this story?
Oh man, yeah, I just don't even I don't have any answers for you either, man.
I was like sitting there looking at this and I'm like, why are the X-Men in the stupidest Lady Death comic I've ever read? And I'm like, oh wait, it's not a Lady Death comic, it just like really looks like one. It's horrible, dude. And like, I didn't think they could actually make it that much worse than the first issue, but dude, Jason Aaron, I'm done with him, man. Snack revoked. Buy your own bounty bar. That's what I gotta fucking say to you, man. Your snack's revoked. We done.
Man, alright, so did you have any more negatives, or did you get all yours done, and did I also steal the rest of yours?
Well, no, let's see. Nightcrawler just sitting there letting all this happen, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna jump on this ship after it comes out of here with my BAMs. Okay, dude, your friends are in there, like, having the battle of their lives. They could get fucking killed by demons and demon BAMs and all that kind of horrible shit, but no, you're gonna like, I'm Pirate Peter Pan, and I'm gonna wait for it to come around the cove to fucking pop on and do some fighting. There was no sense of logic in any of the characters in this book. The narration, oh god, the narration was so cheesy. I mean, like, he was trying to write like old style Stan Lee, I think, with the quips and stuff. He just failed miserably, man. It was like I was reading somebody half-assed, like really just pretending to be Stan Lee. It was fucking sad to see somebody that was as talented as Jason Aaron used to be, and he's obviously let that all go, writing a half-assed fucking Stan Lee dialogue. Oh, man, I hated this issue. I mean, like, if you can't tell.
So, do you want to go thumbs up or thumbs down and buy it or skip it?
Thumbs down, dude. I mean, honestly, this is not where the X-Men need to be, especially with everything cool and interesting that's going on with so many other books. This is just the worst thing that they could possibly do with any of these characters right now, and skip it. Garbage, garbage, garbage with nice art, but it's still garbage.
I really want to like this comic, especially for Firestar and Iceman. My positives and negatives are 4 each, so technically equal. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go thumbs up in favor of the art, and let that be the kicker, because this comic is very, very pretty to look at. So against my better judgment, I kind of like the issue, but still skip it. I mean, it's not that great. And as far as the plot for this story, it's not particularly interesting. It's kind of like, it's like the fast food equivalent of an issue. So congratulations on winning the first McDonald's Double Cheeseburger Award for comic books. Maybe okay for kids or something, but not for anyone with any real taste. Next up is Deadpool number 20. Deadpool number 20 is one of those lost issues they do. Yeah, we could really use something like this after the emotionally taxing last arc, but the annual already did that. I mean, come on, people. One or the other. We don't need both. So anyway, we see Cable abandon Deadpool, leaving him alone in 1960s Wakanda, to try and enjoy a vacation before he gets wrapped up in a cross-time adventure to put together a puzzle. It's meant to look kind of Kirby style, and just like in the old days of comics, it's packed with a lot of panels and a lot of dialogue. I mean, to sum up the story almost kind of seems pointless, because, I mean, the actual story of what happened is not really what this issue's about at all, is it, Johnny?
No, man. This reminded me of an episode of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, because everything was just so left field and so much more ridiculous from the next page over. The art was amazing, though. I have to say, they fucking nailed that nostalgic 60s-looking art, man. I loved the book for that, but yeah, dude, like, this was just a celebration and random, and just pulling up all the old esoteric and unused characters from Marvel lore that, like, nobody touches, like Demon Dinosaur and the Ruler of Earth. So, I mean, like, that was all kind of really cool, but, I mean, if you were, like, looking for anything, like, plot-wise in this book, yeah, you're at a total loss. But unlike Amazing X-Men, which we did before, I found this more enjoyable because of the random, that it was done in like a silly way that I expected and I enjoy. You know what I mean? It wasn't trying to be something impactful and something that's actually going to be relevant in future events of Marvel history. You know, this was just something stupid that they did to fill up a month of a Wade Wilson book. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, pretty much. I loved Fin Fang Foom, man.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I mean, like you said, if you want to go on an Easter egg hunt, I mean, you can have a blast with this book. Like, you can read it for a whole 2 weeks and just pick apart all the little things in it and, have fun with that. But do you want to go thumbs up or thumbs down and buy it or skip it?
I'm actually going to probably just go, I let thumbs up just for the art alone. I just got such a kick at looking at this book. It was just so authentic looking. But I'm going to just say skip it. It's not important, and if you don't like stuff like Aqua Teen Hunger Force, just a celebration of random and retardation and just silliness over and over again, you're probably not going to enjoy this title.
I feel bad giving Amazing X-Men number 2 a thumbs up, technically, but having to go thumbs down on this. But it's just crammed with a lot of nonsense, and for me, at least, it was just kind of a chore to read. I mean, look, there's a joke on nearly every panel, so just by the numbers, you're bound to get a laugh out of some of them, which I did. And visually, it's very well done. They absolutely accomplished what they wanted to with this gimmick issue. But I have to go with skip it, wait till normal Deadpool resumes. Next up is Fantomex Max number 3. So, the scientist who made the super space laser claims to be Eva's father. Could he have been involved with the world? Oh yeah, he's also kind of a dead guy. Like some skin and bones floating at a sci-fi fish tank kind of thing. He can only really interact with people via virtual reality. Think kind of like the villain at the end of Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow. But anyway, we also get an origin for the villains. They crashed while on a mission and got stranded, had one of those how do we survive, bordering on Donner Party kind of moments, until one of the agents stumbles upon an alien eating his friend. He kills it, and eventually they eat the alien. Afterwards, they all get alien superpowers. Fantomex survives the flooding and the sea monsters and makes it down to the stronghold, where he walks right into the trap as promised. But, of course, it doesn't go so well for him. He gets totally punked. Now, the main guy gets the launch codes out of his brain, and by this point, he's turned on his whole team. Basically, he was just using them. He has no idea of making demands on the world or anything like that, holding it hostage with his new space laser. He's just gonna blow shit up. He talks big about royalty and visions of himself as king. At this point, I'd almost be kind of leaning towards him, like, being corrupted by the alien possession after eating one, like, almost like a precursor to invasion sort of thing. But I don't know that they really have time to get into all that.
No, yeah, I think he's probably, like, just batshit crazy from eating the alien. Not to mention, he has a cerebral power, unlike the other two, so that's probably done a little bit of brain stew on him. It was kind of a really odd issue, you know what I mean? There was a lot of sci-fi in it, which I had fun with. The art seems to be going weirder and weirder, though, it seems, on this title. Did you notice that as well?
I think they're just kind of more settling into what they wanted to do. I mean, I think, like, the first two issues, they're kind of testing if the style would work for them. And now they're just going full force with it.
Okay. Because, yeah, I mean, like, it seems like they keep getting stretchier and stretchier looking, but... I mean, because you made the point of bringing that up last time, and, like, I didn't really notice it in the last book, but this one, like, especially when Fantomex puts his finger up on the pad, like, he has, like, a big-ass Ren and Stimpy finger, you know, it's like, BAM!
Yeah, man, it's like, as you go further down the rabbit hole, it gets all, ooh.
But, I don't know, I mean, it's really kind of a cool fucking little story that they're doing here. I really wish that they wouldn't have made the first issue so, like, bang, bang, boom, getting you riled up, if, like, they were really going to try to just calm it down for the rest of the series. I was actually expecting this to pick back up, and it kind of just stayed on the same level the first one. I mean, there was a bit of an increase, but, I mean, it didn't get back to the wildness of the first issue, by any means.
Yeah, no, man, they've lost a bit of a step. It's not the same. And I think back to the interviews when we first previewed this book. Like, what was I so nervous about? Like, I remember all these times the author, he talked about, like, what makes Fantomex tick, or, like, getting to the bottom of who Fantomex is. There's none of that in the series at all.
No, if anything, it's more about the villains and Secret Agent Fleming than Fantomex. And even Eva gets more time. Like, he kind of just shows up and does, like, his, like, I'm special, I'm super duper, look at me do this, and, like, oh, I fuck. He's almost written like Longshot, and Longshot saves the universe, you know?
Yeah, and, like, because in both those books, they kind of became the side character in their own story this issue. And they both are just kind of like one-trick ponies. Like, they've got, like, their one or two character traits, and they show up really quick to express them in the issue. But then that's it.
But, I mean, I'm still really enjoying this, and I still really think it's going to make a hell of a trade paperback, personally. So, I don't want to sound like I'm too hard on this book. Just, don't get sold on the beginning of things, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes they won't go the way you want them to. But that doesn't mean they're going bad, either.
Yeah, no, I don't want to sound like we're going too down on it either, because I did really enjoy it. Definitely on the top half of my books this week. But as an aside, so there's a lot of weirdness here. There's weirdness in this book aside from just what's built into the story. I mean, how could the scientist have created Eva? Was he lying? Or, I mean, obviously he's okay with building weapons, hence the space laser, but he seems like a man of conscience, that's why all the keys, right? So he's not someone who would work with Weapon Plus. And I mean, like, if he created Eva or something, wouldn't that technically kind of make him Fantomex's dad, in a sense, too? I don't get what they're playing with that.
Yeah, me either. Actually, I haven't sat down and thought about that exact quandary with this. You're actually bringing quite a point up, which really, it doesn't make any sense unless he just, like, worked on AI at Weapons Plus and didn't actually have to do with... And not to mention, like, Fantomex wasn't put together as cruelly as, say, like, the Weapon X people were, you know what I mean? He was a lot cleaner of a procedure, so, I mean, maybe it wasn't as morally compromising as what they did to Wolverine.
Maybe this was kind of sold to him the same way as the space laser. Like, maybe we'll need these things, but it won't involve as much torture and stuff as, like, the Weapon 10. Weapon 10 was ages ago. We're much more refined killer scientists since then.
Well, I mean, like, it makes sense. Weapon 10 was during the Reagan years. You know, we were fucking vicious people then. So, I mean, of course, we were going to be making weapons and spilling coffee on them to be brutes. I mean, it's Reagan era, man.
Getting back to Eva here, you made the Pinocchio joke earlier about Eva becoming a real boy. But, what the fuck is going on with that, too? I mean, if they were in a virtual reality thing in the beginning, how does she suddenly have or need a corporeal form? And, like, why do they give you, like, a one sentence about it with no setup? I mean, isn't the ship, like, her corporeal form anyway?
Yeah. I really hope he has something really special lined up for the last issue. Otherwise, like, yeah, this entire series is going to go down the toilet.
We're focusing way, way much on the negative here. And, I mean, I'll get to why that's okay in a second. So let's just do our thumbs up or thumbs down, and our buy it or skip it.
I'm going to go, thumbs up. This is like trucking along to be a pretty cool little story. If you like Fantomex, it's going to be fun. And if you like odd sci-fi spy stuff, this is going to be a total treat for you. But I'm going to say just skip it, get the trade paperback. Like, this issue's not going to blow your socks off.
I want to go thumbs up. This comic is all the right kind of weird. Or this comic is mostly the right kind of weird anyway, and moves the story along nicely. It's also the first one that I'm definitely going to recommend buying with a thumbs up. I mean, there's a little confusion in the beginning, but for me at least, especially because I want to like it so much for Fantomex, it's easy to just gloss over that and just dig into our first real Fantomex series. You know, just put it out of your head, enjoy the ride, and hopefully, like you said, John, he's got something up his sleeve to really, drive it home in the last issue. Okay, so that's going to lead us into Longshot Saves the Marvel Universe number 3. So Longshot's luck hasn't run out. Don't worry, the crashing helicarrier didn't smash him to a pulp. The chaos side of the now split in-betweener isn't happy, though, because that's all he showed up to see. So he uses his magics to unleash a whole team of what-if type characters on the city. When we did the previews for this, I described them as being what-ifs, and Chaos in the book does too, but technically a bunch of these existed in continuity.
Like Wolfcap, I mean, I actually have those issues.
Yeah, your Wolfcap, Silver Surfer Carnage, like, those are all real things. I mean, maybe not Ian McKellen cartoon Magneto. And
that
maybe
hilarious. that was my favorite part, man, especially when he calls Professor X, and like... He calls the school, he's like just telling him all kinds of shit. Like, it reminds me of that old internet video, like, have you ever seen it, the cartoon of the old guy on the phone, like, trying to find out where he is? Like, he's talking to the nurse, and she's like, sir, where are you? And he's like, that's what I'm trying to find out. That's what it reminded me of, dude, but Magneto doing it, so, yeah, that had me rolling.
Yeah, that was, like, quite the sight gag at the very least. And anyway, and because a lot of these jokes, I mean, they actually worked for me here. Like Blade in the trunk, or, Cap joking about Hitler's vampires made me legit chuckle. Honestly, even more than I think Deadpool did. And the best part about this whole issue, for me at least, was Doc Ock's Spidey coming in. He is just so well written in almost every book he appears in outside of the main Superior series. I love this guy. He swings in, rescues the girls and their demon bear, takes them to see the scientist, just in time to be informed that the fabric of reality is being torn at. No shit, Sherlock.
Well, not to mention, he helped the heroes with a couple of villains. He told them how to stop Frank Castle Venom and how to stop the Silver Surfer Carnage. But he also helped to divert their attention so he could make away with the girl and her bear and get them to the mad scientist from issue 1. So he's playing a couple angles in this, which was kind of neat to see old Ox Spidey doing.
And buying into the idea where, like, I don't know if they're going to have time to explore it, but this comic seems to hint at so much more than it really is. There's a scene where Longshot comes in contact with Superior Spider-Man's webbing, and his power of seeing memories and stuff kind of kicks in, and it kind of shows you, like, Doc Ock's Spidey being exposed.
And he saves him. Yeah, he sees that Doc Ock as Peter Parker as being a better hero than just, like, having Peter Parker dead. So I thought that was kind of a neat little part of the issue, too.
Yeah, man, like, they might be going somewhere with that. I mean, I don't know if they really have time in this series, but...
Well, with these characters and with what they're doing, I really think that they're setting up a new Exiles book. I mean, honestly, bringing all these weird what-if characters, like, into this one universe and messing everything up. That's why we had the Exiles in the past before. They kind of policed that stuff from all the different universes. So I think maybe that's what this might be leading up to. And if it is, I'm happy because I miss the Exiles, personally. I love that book.
That would be something, man. And that's a pretty good theory, because I think now more than ever, Marvel just really seems to love playing with their alternate version characters. So, like, maybe they can have their cake and eat it, too, with Superior Spider-Man. Let's just hope that there's a very good writer on the title. Anyway, I still kind of hate how smug this Longshot character is here. Like, why does it always look like he's stretching and relaxing and yawning in every issue?
Because he's fabulous, you know? I mean, honestly, I know that every chick falls in love with him, but I can't help but think that he is... You know, he's a friend of Dorothy, like Shatterstar. I mean, they're from the same place. They kind of got the same look and thing going on with him, so, like, sure, chicks love him, but, like, don't all chicks like gay guys? And, like, maybe he just wants to shop for shoes with them.
Yeah, it's like they feel comfortable around them or whatever. Yeah, no, I totally could see this character being at least, like, bisexual or something. Which I know for some people is technically the same thing as gay anyway, but we're not here to talk the semantics of sexuality. We're here to talk about comic books. So let's just go with thumbs up or thumbs down and buy it or skip it.
I'm gonna go thumbs up. There was just so much to like about this. There was good fucking jokes. There was a lot of allusions to things that I loved coming up, reading comics, a lot of characters, and weird things that they used to try to get away with in the 80s and 90s that they kind of got away from because people want serious comic books all the time now, so. And I want to say buy it, dude. I mean, I loved it, and yeah, dude, like, the old man Magneto will make it worth the purchase. I mean, God. That was the funniest thing I'd seen in a long time, man.
Let's see, I want to go thumbs up, mostly because I just really enjoyed it. I mean, quality-wise, it's probably only just okay, but as far as this issue, I'm going to say they won me back. Just like the first issue, they give you hints that there's a little more depth to this story. I'm afraid it won't be explored as much as it should, at least unless, though, like you're suggesting, like maybe something comes after this, then maybe that can actually continue, because they totally hinted at more interesting things than we're seeing so far, than just these sight gags. I think you can probably skip it, though. It's not like essential storytelling or anything. I guess I'll go buy it if you at least want that one kind of more fun, sillier book in your week, but you also need at least a little bit of actual story to go with it, then go for it. But what we've been waiting for, the book that I really want to talk about a bit here, is X-Men Legacy number 21. So, as Legion is pulling himself together, he's fighting his escaped personality astrally and trying to make peace with Blindfold, all at the same time like this is all going on, who he needs to actually take out of the equation, because pulling himself together could possibly be the thing that leads to the future where one of them has to kill the other. As all of this is going on, we flash through scenes of violence that this personality is causing all over the world. And to make a long story short, it all ends with a Russian sub launching a nuke, the age-old precursor to World War III. Now, I've summed it up story-wise pretty quickly here, but why this issue is so great, and indeed why this book is so great, is the metaphor. One thing always represents another.
And the depth of character. I mean, the way that they really get involved with the scene with Blindfold and David. God, dude, was that heartbreaking, man. I mean, I fucking, that sold me. And if I wasn't a fan of this series like I am, that would have just made me instantly fall in love with it. I mean, Jesus, was that just done so epic.
And especially to do that kind of character work with Legion and Blindfold.
Most books, yeah, you'd need A-listers. That would happen between, like, Emma and Scott, Wolverine and Aurora would be doing that. But no, like, Spurrier's got the balls to do it with some people that, like, either you read comic books in the 80s or you have no idea who really they are right now, so.
Yeah, I mean, what Spurrier does here is take what could be some of the most complicated characters and complicated series of events and actually makes it into one of the most simplest, I mean, not basic, but just primal set of storytelling conditions. Don't let this beautiful but sometimes oddball-seeming art fool you. While sometimes it takes on the tone of one, this isn't some, like, zany, pretentious indie book. This is one of the most super of them all. John, you want to go thumbs up or thumbs down, or buy it, or skip it?
I'm going to go thumbs up. I've never been disappointed by an issue of this title. It has kept me riveted. Like I said, I love Vertigo books, and this is like, dude, if Vertigo actually got their hands on X-Men, what I'd get from them. And I'm going to actually say, even though this is like leaning towards the end of the arc, buy this issue, man. If you want to learn about the characters in this, if you want to know what makes Blindfold and Legion tick, this is the book for you to read. I mean, this really just gets into the heart of the characters and helps you understand them completely and whole.
Man, I hate how sometimes the bad books are easier to pick apart and spend more time on. But I hope at least our words on X-Men Legacy are deeper and more meaningful, because I'm absolutely going to go thumbs up. I can't believe a book this good is so easy to read. Usually the high-end stuff is wordier, or it's just drowning in the complexity and depth of meaning that they want to convey, which is really just another irony of this book. And I'm going to go buy it. Usually books this good take more thought to read, and I don't want this to come out sounding the wrong way, but it's a surprisingly breezy issue. Like, you can really just sit back and enjoy. That takes us into our previews. First book we're going to preview this week is A+X number 15. Doctor Strange and Beast are going to be the first story, and of course, more Psych and Cap. The writers on Strange and Beast are most recently known for Dream Thief, which I've heard a lot of good about.
It's good.
But there seems to be some kind of mandate that no matter what your personal style, you have to make your story for A+X as retarded as humanly possible.
Yeah. Even the great Jim Krueger, when he did the Cap, it was Cyclops and Superior Spider-Man. I mean, like, even he dropped the ball horribly on his run, and, like, yeah. So, I mean, anybody that touches A+X, it's, like, mandated that, yeah, you're serious, Rider? Well, you gotta be silly here. Can't have no serious in this book, son. You take your serious away. No serious for you.
Yeah, man. I mean, looking at the preview pages for this book, I think a couple of the things that they're doing, I mean, it looks like they're actually going to kind of work. Like, some of them are more kind of like hanging a lantern moments than they really are just, like, completely off the wall stupid. But, no, man, I can't believe it. They fooled me once, so shame on them, but I'm not going to let them fool me twice. Shame on me. Expect this book to suck.
Well, I mean, it might be interesting because this is the first time you're going to get to see, sure, it's an A+X, but it's also two new Avengers characters running together, so there might be a couple cool new Avengers jokes if you're a fan of that book, so there might be that running for it.
I have to admit that I'm oddly curious about it one way or another.
Yeah, Beast and Strange sounds like it should be really fun, but so did Superior Spider-Man and Magneto, and they fucked that up bad.
Yeah, it sounded like it should have been awesome. I mean, that was one of the worst things ever. I mean, and of course, the first thing that's going to happen with Strange and Beast is going to be a doctor joke.
Yeah, dude, they're going to go Spies Like Us with it.
Yeah, man, I didn't even have to read the preview pages to know that. But anyway, luckily, after I read that, I get to read my favorite comic book, Cable and X-Force number 17. It looks like Hope's TK juice is going to run out mid-fight. I can't wait to see how they get out of this. Also, can Colossus and Domino stop an avalanche? I mean, these side stories are already enough for me without the main plot, Forge's possession. And even there, like, I'm more interested in Dr. Nemesis and what he's going to say, and how many awesome lines he's going to get, versus, like, what actually happens to Forge. So here you go. You've got this perfect mix of peril and pure comic book enjoyment.
Well, I mean, like, I'm going to bring up something that you were bagging on a past issue that we just reviewed. Like, Dom is going to stop the avalanche. You know why? Because she is basically, like, the total long shot that you want to fuck without all the, like, hey, look at me, I'm cool douchebaggery. She's just going to do something that's cool and stop it. You know what I mean? And then probably fuck Colossus. Because that's how she rolls. And then, yeah, Nemesis is going to quote some weird Babylon 5 maybe, because he did Star Trek last issue, and yeah, just punked the shit out of Forge for being a dumbass to let a demon take over his brain. And we're probably going to get to see Boom Boom get fooled by another dance hallucination, be like raving away, like, yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be a great issue. It's just another one that I'm just so sad that this book is wrapping up so soon, I almost don't want this issue to come out next week, even though it probably is going to be one of the best books out next week.
Cable and X-Force is kind of one of those things where, like you were just kind of, like, bagging on me for liking some things in some books and not liking them in others. The thing about Cable and X-Force is that it's just always going to work for me. And if I was reviewing Cable and X-Force, like, long-form style, like writing a full dissertation, like, every week, it would get to the point where I'd probably just be repeating myself all the time, because I would keep enjoying the same things about it every month. And that's actually kind of why I stopped reviewing Smallville for Comic Book, because I realized I was just writing the same review every week, but just like insert different circumstances. But I mean, the only real saving grace, like the only reason that I can still smile as I'm talking about it right now, is knowing that when my favorite comic book gets revamped into a new series, at least it's going to be written by the writer of what I think is probably the best comic book of the year.
So yeah, the sadness is that it's ending. The good thing is like, yeah, it's probably something great's gonna come out of it. So yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself.
And the goodness is going to roll right along, at least for now, man. We're also going to get Uncanny X-Men number 15 next week.
Yes.
Uncanny X-Men number 15 is the Girls' Night Out issue. But don't let that gimmick fool you.
Look at what girls are going to be going out. I mean, Jesus, it's going to be this is a wild bunch, bro.
Yeah, dude. I mean, honestly, it probably will live up to everything that it sounds like. But this is also all about having a school full of mutant soldiers who happen to be teenagers. And, when you have kids, well, I mean, I don't care how militant you want to be, you have to entertain them. And this is the new Xavier school having to deal with the fact that kids are kids.
Right on. And, dude, like, Cable and X-Force is your favorite X-Tyler right now? This is mine. Especially since Ultimates is over. So, I mean, this is it for me. And if it was going to be, like, the Jean Grey school girls, I'd probably be a little more resilient, but seeing, like, who is going to be in this party, it's going to be wild, man, and it's probably going to be quite, I don't know, nuts, you know? I mean, I see them going the same route that they did with Benjamin Dietz' issue, but with some of the female characters. I think they're going to establish a little bit of what's going on with the Cuckoos, how they're becoming their own people. They're arguing with each other and stuff. I'm pretty sure that's going to come into play with this. I'm pretty sure that they're going to let us in on Tempest a little more. So this is going to be showing, letting us in on some of the evolution and some of these newer female characters that are being brought forth into our world that we love, that is X-Men.
Yeah, man, I don't see any way that this can possibly go wrong.
No, and like, if worse comes to worse, it's going to bring back the sexiest moment segment.
Yeah, I know, right? And more on that later, but we also have to read Wolverine number 12. Honestly, when I read the solicits about this being the penultimate chapter of Killable, the virus is about to take over the Earth, my thoughts are just like, oh my god, I don't care. But I mean, I care about the character, so I'm always rooting for this book to do well. And I am looking forward to at least some of those little moments that can make or break something like this.
In this issue, it's just like every other issue of Wolverine aside from the Savage book. We're going to have to get through it one page at a time. One page at a time, brother.
Well, I mean, hey, man, you enjoyed the last issue a little bit more, and the one before that I kind of enjoyed. And it was always because of those little moments, I think, like little touches that make the book work for us. Anyway, Wolverine and the X-Men number 39 is another book we have to read next week. I mean, another book coming out next week.
Well, this one I'm actually kind of, looking a little forward to, because I hope it's going to build a little bit more towards this whole, like, S.H.I.E.L.D. Sentinel thing, and, like, having Scott and Wolvie have to team up and fight S.H.I.E.L.D. while fighting each other. I'm getting a sense that it's going to be kind of like hopefully a better version of A plus X again, but it's like X plus X, you know what I mean? Really hoping that Jason Aaron can pull one out of the fire, you know what I mean? And maybe I won't revoke my snack and I will buy him a bounty bar if he can get this fucking story arc right.
Yeah, and instead of commenting, I could probably just, like, copy, edit, like, what you just said, like, out of the segment, and just replay it for my own thing. 'Cause, like, I'm with you 100%, man. Like, it's Wolverine and Cyclops together again, X plus X. Like, all I can say is this better be good. These final few issues are Jason Aaron's last hurrah before the book about the school is relaunched and taken over by a new author. But as far as Jason Aaron's run goes, generally the more time away from the school, the better the issue, I guess. So I'm also very hesitantly looking forward to this. We also have Wolverine Max number 14. And I'm not even sure.
2 more issues to go! Only 2 more! Thank you! Just get it over with! Put them out weekly, please! Get this book over with!
I don't even know what to say about this, because, man, they barely even preview this book anymore. I think it's kind of like when a movie studio decides not to preview their movie to critics, because, like, they know it's going to suck anyway, and they don't want the advanced bad word of mouth from the advanced screening.
Well, we got the creepy fucking Lost Highway guy taking Wolverine probably to go see the guys in the glass booth from Mulholland Drive to tell him this is the girl. And he's probably going to have to go meet the cowboy out in the field somewhere, Like, it seems like he's done with the redneck thing and he's going to go completely David Lynch with this arc, which, I don't know, that might be interesting, you know what I mean? I'd like to see, like, Eraserhead meets Wolverine, with some Mulholland Drive thrown in there.
Well, when your series is going to end, you're pretty much free to do anything. So, yeah.
Maybe Wolverine will have the baby from Eraserhead, like, go with him to Vegas. That'd be cool. I like that little fucking E.T. looking thing, Like, that'd be a good companion for this Wolverine. They have about the same mental capacities.
Yeah, man, just while out with it. Spiking the Punch is a segment where Johnny and I each recommend one non-X-Men related comic, just to spice up the conversation a little bit, and possibly your weekly reading. Johnny Alpha, do you want to lead us off?
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, my Spiking of the Punch is, yes, it's another Image Comics, and I'm going to have to go with Carbon Gray, Volume 3, Issue 1. And before I get into this issue, I'm going to do a bit of a recap on what's happened so far in this book, because this is the 3rd story arc. Carbon Gray is set kind of in a World War I style look, but it's a fantasy tale, kind of like World War I Europe. There's a place that's like Germany, there's a place like England, and the German place has this myth about this hero Gottfaust, who had this rock of power, and how he was betrayed by the king that he served. And over 1,000 years, descendants of Gottfaust, his daughters were always born in threes, until this newest incarnation, where there's a fourth one, the child of revolution. But they're twins, so nobody actually knows who is the Carbon Grey that's going to bring about the revolution. And this issue kind of really gets into it. One of the twins has found part of Gottfaust's rock and is in a coma because she is sworn to serve the Kaiser, and the Kaiser hasn't been born yet. Basically, this big scuffle happens, and the Kaiser dies inside of his mom, and the one sister wakes up, and she seems to be either in control of the rock, or also at this time the other sister is invading that airspace with some of the quasi-British troops to help bring about what she thinks is what the Kaiser before this baby wanted her to do. Bring peace to the land, which has not really ever been known. There's been a couple ceasefires and stuff, but this is basically like a Europe that's always been perpetually at war. This book is just, I don't know, it's gorgeous. I love the art style, how they kind of have modern weaponry, but the aircraft and everything is World War I style. They have biplanes and blimps. I mean, it really makes for just a drastic look, and I love fantasy tales, especially ones that take it out of, say, dragons and swords and put it into something that's more modern perspective. And I mean, this one, it just does it so great. There's such a great mythology with Gottfaust and the legend of the Queen that's involved in this. I mean, you're going to have to go back and read these trade paperbacks if you get involved in this issue, because this is just such a vivid and amazing read. I mean, I can't say enough good things about this. This is probably one of my favorite comic books I've ever read, ever. It's just so well presented and put together. This is sadly the last story arc. This is going to be the tie-up for it, but God, does it promise to just be such a just fucking ass-kicking story.
Yeah, man, here's one I've wanted to dig into for a while. I think I've even flipped through a few before. It's a very lush, gorgeous comic. Very easy on the eyes, if you know what I mean. And even just the name, Carbon Grey. It's tough yet mysterious at the same time. Like this book, which, like you said, shares elements of fantasy and real World War looking stuff. I've heard it called kind of steampunk before, but I don't think that really fits. Like, it's not over gadgety looking like steampunk is normally.
I think it's just lack of a better term to come up for it, because it's old style with new stuff mixed up with it, but yeah, there's no gears, nothing really runs on steam. It's actually kind of more of old style cyberpunk, because there are like mech suit type things in the first story arc, so I would say it plays with several tropes, but yeah, I wouldn't actually call it steampunk proper.
Yeah, so I think what it does with the elements it combines, I think it's really very, very unique that way. Now I'll jump into a story anywhere, I never care. But for this one, it can be a little hard to get into, even for me, I'll admit. The key here is you really gotta be ready for some reading. Books like this approach the level of novels in some ways. I don't mean necessarily the amount of text, like the amount of words, but it feels like one of those stories that really works in an epic novel type approach, which is probably why they've released it across these volumes. And that is kind of one thing that admittedly has kept me away from this. I mean, I feel like I'm always seeing Carbon Grey just kind of randomly pop up. And at the very least, it takes a little research to know exactly where you stand. The book doesn't make it too hard for you, though. The first 2 pages of this issue are mostly all writing. They do it in the form of character cards, so it's like segmented bits of text. But if you read these 2 pages worth of them, you'll be in pretty good shape. And if you do, I think it'll be worth it.
Right. Oh, I mean, I really wish that it wasn't the last and the third story arc that I was spiking with, but I really think that this book needs to be read. And I mean, I know that whenever the new issues come out, it sells out for as good as Image does. I mean, they have to reprint and re-release all the issues for it usually, but I never really hear people talking about it at the same time, so I really think that this comic needs to be read. That's the only reason why I spiked it this far along, because we didn't have a show a year and a half ago when it first popped out.
And it's something I've really always wanted to read. I totally thank you, man, for bringing this one up. As for me, I'm spiking the punch this week with Rover Red Charlie #1, brought to you by Garth Ennis and Avatar Press. So it's a story about 3 dogs, named Rover, Red, and Charlie, trying to survive the apocalypse. Or at least the human apocalypse, or feeders, as the dogs refer to them to. I guess, because dogs look into them as their source of food. Is this ridiculous? Abso-freaking-lutely. But while there is a dog joke or two, it's not goofy, silly style ridiculous. And even the carnage is absurdist without, I think, going completely over the top. The dogs even look really realistic. I mean, not quite photorealism. There's some animation to their faces, for example, but it's not all cartoony.
It's like Norman Rockwell-ish, kind of the way that they're portrayed. Nice, warm, home-style painted, like, looking dogs.
And that's actually the thing, because the genesis for this story came from a painting. Like, Garth Ennis always had, like, this painting, in his childhood. Like, there was always this painting on the wall of these 3 dogs who, like, looked like they were ready to leap into some kind of action. And, he said in an interview, it was kind of like his thing. Like, he always wanted to tell the story of those dogs. And I think to this day, he actually has the painting in question, like, in his house or wherever he lives or whatever.
Awesome. I mean, he's such a character anyways, but I have to applaud you on the spiking. This was one of my favorite reads. I'm not even really a dog person, but this really had me pulling at my heartstrings. I really cared for the character Charlie. I liked his whole spiel about how he was proud of being a seeing eye dog, how he loved having his vest, and how the other dogs looked up to him. And now that this horrible shit was going on, he was so confused, because feeders don't hurt dogs. I'm a dog, don't hurt me. It was fucking heartbreaking, and this is coming from a person that's a cat lover, you know what I mean? But also, I have to go back and say one of my favorite books growing up as a kid was The Amazing Journey, which this really reminds me of. This is like the post-apocalyptic survival horror version of that, and like, oh man, it really hit me on an emotional level, as kind of funny as this book was when the dog makes the other dog sniff his ass after he saves him. Like, there was a couple little comedical breaks, but this is a hard-hitting Walking Dead, like, style, in-your-face survival horror written about dogs. Is Enos a master or what? I mean, I didn't think that such a thing was possible. Or if somebody did try it, it would even be worth reading or looking at. But Jesus, this crazy Irish bastard has made a phenomenal, just awesome title out of 3 sad dogs trying to make their way in a world that they never understood in the first place. It's gone even crazier. I mean, God, I loved it. So, I mean, thumbs up for your spiking, bro. And buy this book,
Yeah, I don't think anyone else could make me read such a thing. And like you pointed out, I love how, in a way, it does almost become superhero-ish. Like, of course, like, the seeing eye dog would kind of be looked at to, like, in some kind of a leadership role. He wears the vest, and he was, the feeder's guide or something like that. Like, like, he's got, like, that kind of level of respect or authority. Like, so, of course, he'd be kind of, like, looked at in charge. Like, that was just a really cool touch. I mentioned how the book is not really at all cartoony, but this sure isn't Milo and Otis either. I mean, like, I am a dog person, I love my dog's my best friend, but this is not some cutesy little story for animal lovers. Don't buy it for that reason. Humanity is being wiped out by something not quite zombie virus, more like rage virus, or I guess the obvious no-duh connection is the crossed virus from that franchise.
Yeah.
Obviously, look who's writing it. We'll see exactly how that part all plays out. But, like you said, the dogs are real characters and have a real mission with real peril. This whole thing is played, honestly, mostly straight. This isn't one of those allegorical kind of things, it's not like Animal Farm. The dogs are their own characters. And while I do want to emphasize that it can get pretty nasty, especially for one of the dogs, I mean, we're not talking like Watership Down nasty. I mean, at least not yet. Hopefully not anyway. They say you should never judge a book by its cover. And even though I know damn better, because that phrase is especially true in comic books, I'm often really guilty of it. I cover shop a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, that being said, I think this is one case where you kind of can. I mean, like, you look at the cover, you see the puppies, you see the carnage in the background, and at least for this first issue, that does kind of sum it all up. But that's also why I'm recommending Rover Red Charlie #1. Because at the same time, it both is, and kind of really isn't, exactly as ridiculous as the cover suggests. Switching things up this week.
Oh my.
No, we don't need that. Instead of a sexiest moment, we're doing silliest X moment of the week. The books weren't exactly crammed with sexy, though I wasn't totally mad at Blindfold's party dress and her romantic little dance with Legion. I mean, love can be sexy too, right?
Right. And Pixie in the schoolgirl outfit kind of did it for me, but yeah, we need to spice things up. Sexiest moments getting hard with some of the books, and we're hard-pressed to actually find things sexy, and sometimes we half-ass it, especially like we would this week, So
yeah, instead of half-assing it, we're going to go with something a little different. Now, Deadpool 20 reminded me of just how goofy, in general, comic books can be, and especially were in the past, and some books really seem to emphasize that now. So, Johnny, what did you think was the silliest moment in X-Men Comics this week?
Oh, dude, that's going to have to be from Deadpool number 20. It's going to be when Deadpool and the ruler of the earth were making weird fucking measurement jokes. It was completely silly, but the weird fucking, like, goofy math kind of guy that I am, I kind of got a kick out of it, man, especially because of the kind of work I do. I do a lot of measuring. So, yeah, dude, as silly as they were, man, they really kind of cracked me up, but they were just kind of like, are they really pulling this out in the comic book in 2013? That's silly.
Yeah, man, I mean, math puns, perfect for nerds. How could you go wrong? I mean, yeah, dude, it really had to be from either Deadpool or Longshot. I'm gonna go with Blade just popping out of the trunk of a taxi and Longshot saves the Marvel Universe. Especially after the quick action shots where he takes the vampires out. He's just standing there like, wait, how the hell did I end up in the trunk of a taxi again?
Yes.
It's just so simple in its simplicit silliness, and it's just pure random goofiness. Okay, so that wraps up our show for the week. Remember, our new favorite home on the web is on Facebook. It's on facebook.com/allaboutxmen comics podcast. That's where you'll find us hanging out talking X-Men pretty much every day of the damn week. So stop by and join in the fun. Otherwise, we'll see you next episode.